Go into any eyeglass store in America and look at the prices. A single pair of prescription glasses can run you $300, $400, $500 by the time you add the lenses and the coatings and the frames they steer you toward. Contact lenses cost hundreds a year, every year, forever. And if your eyes get bad enough, they will offer you surgery that runs into the thousands. The eyewear industry in this country is worth tens of billions of dollars a year, and it grows every single year because every single year more Americans need stronger glasses than they did the year before. We have simply accepted this. We treat failing eyesight as something that happens to everyone, like gray hair, an unavoidable part of getting older. Your eyes get weak, you get glasses. The glasses get stronger every few years, and eventually you cannot read a menu, or drive at night, or recognize a face across the room without a piece of glass strapped to your head. That is just how it goes. That is what we have all been told. My name is Amos Lapp. I am Amish. I farm outside of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and I want to tell you something that may be hard to believe. In my community, there are men and women well into their 70s and 80s who do fine work with their hands, who read their Bibles in the evening lamplight, who spot a hawk circling a distant field, who thread a needle and split a board on a line and see the world clearly, without thick glasses and without surgery. I am not telling you that no Amish person ever wears spectacles. Some do. We are human, and eyes are eyes. But the wholesale collapse of eyesight that happens to so many people in the modern world, the relentless year after year worsening that has everyone in stronger and stronger lenses by middle age, that is far less common among my people. And I believe a good part of the reason is sitting in a bowl on our table through the summer and put up in jars for the winter. A small dark berry that costs almost nothing, that you can grow or gather yourself, and that has been tied to good eyesight for hundreds of years. Today I am going to tell you what it is and what it does inside your eyes, and why the people who sell you glasses have never once mentioned it. But first, the honest word. If your eyesight is failing, you see an eye doctor. Some vision problems are mechanical, the shape of the eye itself, and no berry on earth will change the shape of your eye. If you need glasses to see safely, you wear them. And some eye conditions are serious. Glaucoma, the kind of things that can steal your sight permanently if they are not caught and treated. An eye doctor catches those. I am not telling you to avoid the eye doctor. I am telling you about a food that supports the health of your eyes, that protects them from the kind of decline that comes from poor nutrition and age and strain. That is a different thing from a mechanical vision problem, and I want to be clear about the difference. Honest is better than reckless. Now let me tell you how your eyes actually work, because the berry will make sense once you understand it. Your eye is one of the most remarkable things in all of creation. Light comes in through the front, gets focused by the lens, and lands on the back wall of the eye, a layer called the retina. The retina is covered in millions of tiny cells that catch the light and turn it into signals that travel up to your brain. And that is what seeing is. Now here is the part most people never learn. Those light-catching cells at the back of your eye work harder than almost any cells in your body. They are firing constantly, every waking moment, processing light without rest. And that hard work produces a great deal of what the body calls oxidative stress. Think of it like an engine that runs hot. An engine that runs hot all day, every day, needs good oil and good cooling, or it wears out. Your retina is that engine. It runs hot from morning to night, catching light, and it needs protection from the wear that all that work creates. That protection comes from specific nutrients, certain vitamins and certain plant compounds that act like cooling and oil for the hard-working cells of the eye. When your diet is rich in those nutrients, the eye is protected and stays strong for decades. When your diet is poor in them, and the modern processed diet is very poor in them, the eye wears out faster. The cells get damaged, the vision declines, and it declines faster and earlier than it ever should. There is one part of the eye I especially want you to understand, because it is at the center of the most common vision loss in older people. At the very center of your retina, In the spot responsible for your sharpest, most detailed vision, there is a small yellow area called the macula. The macula is what lets you read, recognize faces, see fine detail. And the macula is protected by a yellow pigment made from specific nutrients you can only get from food. When that pigment is thick and strong, the macula is shielded and your central vision stays sharp. When that pigment thins out because your diet does not supply what it needs, the macula becomes vulnerable, and the result is the slow blurring and darkening of central vision that millions of older Americans suffer. The eye is starving for the very nutrients that protect its most important part, and almost nobody is being told which foods provide them. Now let me tell you about the berry. It is called bilberry. If you have never heard of it, you are not alone, because here in America it has been mostly forgotten. Bilberry is a small, dark blue-purple berry, a close cousin of the blueberry, but smaller, darker, and even more intensely colored all the way through. Where a cultivated blueberry is often pale and watery on the inside, the bilberry is deep purple right to the core, so dark it stains your fingers and your tongue. In Europe it grows wild across the hills and forests, and people have gathered it for centuries, getting down on their hands and knees in the late summer to pick the low bushes one small berry at a time. It was a food of the country people, the farmers and the foresters, and it was always considered good for the body, and especially good for the eyes. And there is a famous story about bilberry that I want to tell you, because it is the reason the modern world ever paid attention to it at all. During the great wars of the last century, the pilots who flew at night, the men who had to spot targets in the dark and see by the faint light of the moon, were given bilberry jam before their night flights. And those pilots reported that their night vision improved, that they could see more sharply in the dark after eating the berries, that shapes and edges came clearer in the gloom than they had before. Word of this spread among the airmen, and the bilberry jam became something they sought out before a night mission. That story sent scientists looking into why, and what they found is the heart of the matter, and the reason I am sitting here telling you about a small purple berry today. Bilberries, and their cousins, the dark blueberries and blackberries and other deep purple fruits, are packed with compounds called anthocyanins. Anthocyanins are what give the berry its deep dark color, and those same compounds are powerful protectors of the eye. They are among the strongest of the natural substances that cool that hot running engine of the retina, that shield the hard-working light cells from the wear of their constant labor. Anthocyanins have been shown to support the tiny blood vessels that feed the eye, keeping good blood flow to the retina. They support the light-catching pigments in those retinal cells, the very molecules that let you see in dim light, which is exactly why those night pilots saw better. And they fight the oxidative wear that ages the eye before its time. A daily handful of these dark berries, or bilberry where you can find it, floods the eye with exactly the protection it has been missing. It is not a drug. It does not force anything. It simply gives the eye the raw materials it was always meant to have and rarely gets in the modern diet. And here is what makes me certain there is something to this. My people eat these berries in great quantity. Through the summer, the tables are full of fresh berries from the patches and the wild edges of the fields. Dark berries, eaten by the bowlful, day after day, all summer long. And what we cannot eat fresh we put up. My wife makes jams and preserves and dries berries to last through the winter, so that the dark fruit is on our table in some form nearly all year round. We did not do this because a scientist told us it was good for our eyes. We did it because the berries were there, free for the gathering, and because the old people always valued them. But the result is that my community eats more of these eye-protecting berries in a season than most modern Americans eat in 5 years. And our eyes hold up. I do not think that is an accident. Now compare that to the modern diet. When does the average American eat a deep, dark berry? Almost never. A little blueberry in a muffin where the heat has destroyed most of the good in it. A splash of berry flavoring and something artificial. The real thing, the fresh, dark berry eaten in quantity, has all but vanished from the modern table. Instead, the diet is built on processed food stripped of every protective compound, food that gives the eye nothing to work with. And then we act surprised that eyesight collapses. We feed the hardest working cells in the body a diet with none of the protection they require, and when they wear out, we sell glasses. The glasses do nothing for the health of the eye. They simply bend the light to compensate for an eye that is failing. They are a crutch, not a cure. And every year the eye fails a little more, and the crutch gets a little stronger, and the cycle never ends because nobody addresses why the eye is failing in the first place. Let me tell you how to bring these berries into your life because it is simple. If you can find bilberry, fresh or frozen, or even as a dried fruit or a tea, that is the traditional best. But bilberry can be hard to find in America, so do not fret if you cannot. The dark blueberry, the kind with deep color all the way through, the wild ones especially, carry the same family of compounds. Blackberries, black currants, dark cherries, elderberries, all the deep purple and near black fruits are rich in the anthocyanins your eyes need. The rule is simple. The darker the berry all the way through, the better. A handful every day. Fresh in the summer when you can get them. Frozen in the winter, which keeps the good compounds well. You can eat them plain, stir them into your morning oats, or do as my wife does and put them up as preserves so you have them all year. A bag of frozen dark blueberries costs a few dollars and gives you weeks of daily handfuls. Compare that to $500 for a pair of glasses that does nothing to make the eye itself any healthier. And let me add the honest companions to the berry because the eye needs a few things working together. Beyond the dark berries, your eyes are protected by the deep green leafy vegetables, the spinach and the kale and the collards, which are the richest source of the nutrients that build that protective yellow pigment in the macula I told you about. Egg yolks carry those same pigments. Orange and yellow vegetables, the carrots your grandmother told you were good for your eyes, and she was right. The sweet potatoes and the squash carry the vitamin the eye needs to see in dim light. The old wisdom about carrots and eyes was never a myth. It was simply true. A plate built from dark berries, deep greens, bright orange vegetables, and good eggs gives the eye everything it has been starving for. That is not a prescription. That is a garden, and it is the garden my people have eaten from for generations, while our eyes held strong into our old age. And let me say one more honest thing about why the modern eye fails so much faster than it should. Because the diet is only half of it. The other half is strain. The human eye was built to look across distance, to scan the horizon, to watch a field, to follow a bird across the sky, constantly shifting focus from near to far, and back again the way the eye is designed to move. The modern person does none of that. The modern person spends their entire day with their eyes locked at one fixed distance. A screen, a phone, a desk, 18 inches from their face, hour after hour after hour. The tiny muscles inside the eye that change its focus get locked in one position all day, like a man holding his arm bent at the same angle from morning to night. Of course it cramps. Of course it strains. Of course it weakens. The eye was meant to roam, and we have caged it. My people work across open distance all day. We look up from the near work to the far field constantly. Our eyes move the way eyes were built to move. And that, along with the berries and the greens, is why they hold up. So, even as you feed your eyes the dark berries, give them the other thing they need. Look up from the near work. Several times an hour, lift your eyes and look at the farthest thing you can see, and hold it for a moment. Let the eye stretch the way it was built to. It costs nothing, and it matters more than you know. Now I want you to sit with the larger truth here. There is no company that profits from a man growing dark berries in his garden and eating a handful every morning. There is no advertising budget behind a bowl of blueberries and a plate of spinach. But there is an enormous industry, tens of billions of dollars, built on the assumption that your eyes will inevitably fail, and that you will need to buy glasses and stronger glasses and contacts, and eventually surgery for the rest of your life. That industry does not want your eyes to stay healthy. Healthy eyes buy nothing. The whole machine depends on the steady, predictable, year-after-year decline of the nation's eyesight. And so the simple truth that the eye is an organ like any other, and that it stays healthy when it is fed what it needs and declines when it is starved, that truth is never spoken in the eyeglass store. They measure how far your eyes have fallen, and they sell you the glass to match. They never once ask what you are eating. They never once mention a berry, because the berry threatens the entire arrangement. Here is what I want you to do this week. Buy a bag of dark berries, fresh or frozen, the darkest blueberries you can find, or blackberries, or any deep purple fruit. Eat a handful every single day. Put spinach or kale on your plate. Eat the orange vegetables, the carrots, and the sweet potatoes. Eat good eggs with the yolk. Do it every day for a season and pay attention. Pay attention to how your eyes feel at the end of a long day, whether the strain is less, whether the dim light bothers you less than it did. Tell me in the comments how old you were when you got your first pair of glasses, and how many times the prescription has gotten stronger since. Tell me if anyone, any eye doctor in all your years, ever once asked you what you eat. I think for almost all of you the answer is no, and I think that silence tells you everything. I read every single one, and what you share is the reason I keep doing this. Next time I am going to tell you about the one thing the Amish do for their hearing that keeps the old folks sharp of ear into their 80s, while the modern world goes deaf early. And it will surprise you because it has nothing to do with the ears at all. Until then, eat the dark berries. Feed your eyes what they have been begging for. They were built to last you a lifetime. Most people just never feed them.